Have you ever been hurt and immediately felt the urge to react, to explain, argue, prove that you're right? But the more you speak, the more you feel out of control, as if everything is slipping through your fingers. The most frustrating part isn't what happened, but the feeling of being pulled into it, being controlled by your own emotions. You think speaking up will help you regain control, but in reality, that very reaction is what gives power to others. There's a truth that few people realize: the moment you become predictable, you become easy to manipulate. And that's when you start losing, no matter how right you are. If you want to break out of this cycle, hit like or follow right now, not to support me, but to remind yourself that you're ready to change the way you react. Because in the next part, you'll understand why silence isn't weakness, but a form of power that very few people truly master. 1. The nature of emotional reactions. Your first reaction when you're hurt is almost always emotional, not rational. It happens fast. Your heart starts beating quicker, your mind begins generating a stream of responses, and you barely have any pause to think. For example, when someone says something that makes you feel disrespected, you immediately want to respond to regain your position. But in that moment, you're not in control of the situation, you're being controlled by your emotions. The problem is, in that moment, your emotions are loud but not accurate. They exaggerate the situation, making you believe that I need to react right now. And that urgency is what leads you to say or do things you later regret. The way to change isn't to suppress your emotions, but to create a small gap between emotion and action. The next time you feel triggered, don't respond immediately. Just pause for 5-10 seconds. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I feeling? And do I really need to react right now? Try applying this at least once today, just once. But do it consciously. You'll start to realize control doesn't come from reacting faster, but from slowing down at the right moment. 2. The danger of reacting out of habit. When you react out of habit, you're not just responding to a situation, you're unintentionally revealing yourself. Every time you lose your temper, over-explain, or try to prove you're right, you're showing others exactly what makes you lose control. For example, if a small piece of criticism immediately triggers a strong reaction, the other person will start to realize that's your weak point. And from then on, they may unintentionally or intentionally touch it again. What makes this dangerous is that these reactions form a repeating pattern. Someone provokes you, react, the situation escalates. Repeat this long enough, and you become a predictable version of yourself. And once people can predict how you'll react, they can almost steer the direction of the conversation. To break this cycle, you need to start recognizing your own patterns. Pay attention. When do you react the most strongly? When you're criticized, ignored, or misunderstood? Today, when a familiar situation happens, don't respond the usual way. Just change one small thing. Say less, or stay silent a few seconds longer than usual. That small shift is enough to begin breaking the old pattern. And for the first time, you're no longer being driven by your reflex, but consciously controlling it. 3. The solution. Create a pause. The solution isn't about controlling yourself better, but about creating a clear gap between emotion and action. This pause may sound simple, but it's the boundary between reaction and choice. When you don't pause, you react on autopilot. When you do pause, you begin to have the power to choose how you respond. Imagine someone says something that irritates you. Normally, you would reply immediately, your tone shifts, emotions rise. But if this time you stay silent for a few seconds, you'll start to notice what's happening inside you. Anger, ego, or the feeling of being attacked. And once you see it clearly, it no longer controls you completely. The pause doesn't change the external situation, but it completely changes your position within it. You're no longer being pulled along, you're observing and deciding. A very practical method: the next time you feel the urge to react instantly, practice intentional delay. Slowly count from 1 to 5 before saying anything. Try applying this at least twice today. You don't need to do it perfectly, just start creating that pause. Because within that pause, you begin to take back control. 4. The power of silence. Silence, when chosen consciously, is not avoidance. It's a high level of control. Most conflicts exist because of back and forth. One person speaks, the other responds, emotions escalate. But when one side stops refusing to engage in the usual way, that entire rhythm is disrupted. For example, when someone tries to provoke you and expects a familiar reaction, anger, explanation, or argument, but you respond briefly or remain silent, they won't know how to continue. This creates a gap, and within that gap, instead of escalating, the situation often slows down. The other person is forced to face their own words rather than being pulled into an emotional exchange with you. Most importantly, silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you choose not to react in a way that weakens you. You are still fully aware of the situation, but you don't let it drag you into the same old loop. A practical approach when facing conflict: try responding with a short neutral sentence, or simply don't respond right away. Don't try to end the conversation, just stop fueling it. Starting today, make a commitment to yourself: in at least 3 tense situations you will not react in your usual way. No arguing, no over-explaining. Just observe, hold your ground, and choose your response consciously. That's when you begin to truly take back control. 5. Long-term benefits. When you consistently maintain controlled silence across different situations, a clear shift begins to happen, but not immediately. At first, you'll still feel uncomfortable, still want to react, still have the urge to say something. But if you keep that distance, you'll start to notice your emotions no longer control you for as long as they used to. For example, in the past, a negative comment might have stayed in your mind all day, replaying over and over. But when you don't react immediately, when you don't feed that emotion with actions or repetitive thoughts, it gradually weakens. Not because it doesn't matter, but because you're no longer giving it control over you. Over time, you become harder to trigger. Not because you've become cold, but because you now understand what truly deserves your energy. A simple practice: whenever you notice yourself replaying a negative situation in your mind, consciously interrupt it and shift your attention to something else. A concrete action like walking, working, or focusing on your breath. Today, try to cut it off at least once. When you find yourself caught in negative thinking, just once, but do it decisively. That's how you begin to take back control of your mind. 6. Redirecting your energy back to yourself. When you stop focusing on the person who hurt you, something important begins to happen. You reclaim your energy. Before, most of your time and thoughts revolved around them, what they think, whether they understand, whether they'll change. But the more you dwell on it, the more you stay stuck in that situation. The shift comes from redirecting your attention. For example, instead of asking, "Why did they do that?" ask, "What will I do with this experience?" This question moves you from a passive position to an active one. You begin to reflect on yourself, how you reacted, where you could improve, and what you need to build, so you don't fall into the same pattern again. This isn't about blaming yourself, it's about understanding and upgrading yourself. When you invest in discipline, habits, and mindset, you gradually become more grounded, no longer dependent on other people's behavior to feel okay. Today, instead of thinking about that person one more time, spend at least 10 minutes doing something that helps you grow: reading, learning, or training. Just a small redirection is enough to start changing your trajectory. 7. Inner freedom. When you stop living in anticipation of an apology, validation, or a reaction from others, you begin to experience a very different kind of freedom: inner freedom. This doesn't mean you no longer feel emotions. It means you still feel everything, but you no longer let it dictate your direction. For example, in the past, just a cold response or a misunderstanding could affect your mood for the entire day. But when you understand that your value doesn't lie in how others treat you, you become less dependent on external reactions. Inner freedom comes from clearly distinguishing between two things: what is within your control and what is not. You can't control other people's thoughts, actions, or validation, but you can always control how you perceive things, how you stay calm, and how you choose to move forward. A practical step: whenever you find yourself waiting for someone to reply, explain, or change, ask yourself, is this really within my control? Today, choose one thing that's been weighing on your mind and consciously let go of the part that isn't yours to control. Just doing this once, you'll begin to feel a noticeable lightness in your mind. In the end, what matters most isn't what you've been through or how others have treated you. It's who you choose to become after all of it. Most people stay stuck not because the pain was too great, but because they keep reacting the same way. They repeat the same cycle: triggered, react, regret, and then repeat. But when you begin to understand that power doesn't lie in reacting quickly, but in not reacting out of habit, everything changes. You stop trying to control others. Stop trying to make them understand. You stop needing to prove your worth in every argument. Instead, you shift all your focus to one thing: yourself. You control your thoughts. You choose your reactions. You decide what deserves your energy. And when you do this long enough, you don't just change how you react. You completely change how you exist in this world. You become someone who isn't easily pulled into drama, not easily manipulated emotionally, not easily shaken by others' words or actions. a kind of stability that is quiet but incredibly powerful. At this point, silence is no longer a strategy. It becomes your nature, not because you don't know what to say, but because you don't need to say anything to prove anything. And this is where very few people arrive, when you no longer react the way others expect. They no longer have access to your emotions. You are no longer being controlled. You are the one who decides. If you're truly serious about change, don't just listen and move on. Right after this, choose one specific situation where you usually react emotionally, and the next time it happens, do it differently. Pause. Don't react immediately. Don't over-explain. Just observe and choose your response consciously. At the same time, hit follow or like right now, not for this content, but as a commitment to yourself that you won't go back to your old version. Because change doesn't come from understanding, it comes from action. And the moment you begin to control your reactions, that's the moment you are no longer easily hurt in the same way. You're not just stronger, you become harder to reach.